This is Times Radio.
Hello, Chloe Tilley with you here on Times Radio through till 1 o'clock. Tomorrow, I was going to say tomorrow morning, but it's this morning, of course, isn't it? And of course, it's the beginning of February. We've got through January. Well done, everybody. Now, we're going to spend the next few minutes talking about mood contagion. A recent study has shown that teenagers can catch moods from their friends, and negative moods appear to be, well, more contagious than positive. This is what this study has found. And it kind of got us thinking that surely this is the case for most of us. You know, if you're with a grumpy person, it can bring your mood down. If someone's in a good mood, it can really brighten up your day. So how does this work, and what is the true extent of the impact of other people's moods on us? Well, we can now speak to life coach Dr. Rakish Rana, aka the Clear Coach. Hello there.
Hello, Chloe.
So, I mean, is this true that if you're with somebody that can be a bit grumpy, it can pull us down, and equally if you're with someone who's happy, it can lift your spirits?
Oh, very much so. Moods are very infectious, and especially now, I guess with reason to be unhappy and reason to be sad, it's even more so, and that's why the negative emotions are prevalent right now.
So, is there a scientific reason behind this, or is it just that we're picking up on emotion?
No, there is science. There were studies carried out back in the mid-90s, actually, based on mirror neurons. They did this originally in macaque monkeys, and essentially what it is, say, for example, when you see somebody smile, you can't help but smile back. Essentially what's happening is when you see that person smile, the activity in the brain, the neuron fires off. The same neuron that's causing that person to smile is firing off in your brain. As that neuron happens, your brain essentially feels it. Neurons, all the messaging's happening in your brain, and it causes you to smile. And therefore, when you smile, you feel happier. So essentially, it's mimicry, which leads to a behavioural pattern. So
are you more likely to mimic a good mood or a bad mood, or they're pretty similar?
I would suggest they could go either way. It depends on the person, but like I said, it's right now people have got reasons to be quite sad. So and that's why I guess this report's come out that people are being affected by mood negatively right now, because it's so easy to be negatively impacted with everything that's going on in the world.
So what can we do to try and make sure that if there is somebody, and as you say, it's a really difficult time right now, and there could quite feasibly be on any day more than one person in the house who's feeling pretty low. What can we do to make sure that, one, we don't fall into that, and maybe we can lift their spirits?
Exactly. First of all, being aware that this happens, and being able to understand that this is happening. If you find that you are feeling sad around somebody, sometimes it's beneficial to withdraw and ascertain how you feel and how you can feel better, but remain positive. So uplifting music, and it was great to listen to the speaker just before in terms of sound. So it's not just visibly looking at somebody that you can be impacted. It could be through sounds, it could be through smells, a phone call, a news story. So it's what we consume can impact us negatively or positively. So making sure that we're consuming things that make us feel positive, whether that's music, limiting our social media, for example. Sometimes the social media that we watch can be quite negatively impacting. So doing the things that are going to reinforce the positivity, whether it's through music, through food, through smells, through reading, could be anything.
And I guess during this pandemic, at times actually just not over-consuming news.
Exactly. I wouldn't say stick your head in the sand or such.
No.
However, monitor what you do. I know last year when the first lockdown hit, everybody was glued to their screens, wanting the latest news. And very soon, as a family, we saw that actually this wasn't doing us any good at all. It was very negative. We were feeling upset, and we stopped consuming the news. So we would watch out for headlines, make sure we knew what was happening, but we weren't glued to the TV screens to watch it. So yeah, keep an eye on what's happening, but balanced.
Can it sometimes be good just to say, do you know what? I'm in a bad mood and I just need to indulge myself?
Of course. I always say never to be hard on yourself. Accept you feel what you feel. It's understanding and accepting, then you can actually do something about it. So, yeah, very much so.
It's difficult, isn't it? I remember for me in the first lockdown, I had a day where I just essentially wanted to mourn the life that I felt not so much that I had lost, but that my children had lost, that I felt sad that they weren't able to do the things that they really wanted to do. And it's very difficult to explain that actually mummy feels sad today and I just need to be sad, but I equally want you to be happy. And it's very difficult when you're in the midst of that to perform that balance.
It is, and especially when you do have children and you're being the role model, you're the one that's supposed to provide the positivity, let's say, for your children to pull off. And I guess this is where we then as adults look for support around us, whether it's through friends, through partners or through family as well. So that's all we can do, and do what we can do that's in our control.
And also, obviously, within the current lockdown restrictions, but I guess just meeting a friend for a socially distanced walk can really help to lift a mood and if nothing else, break the monotony.
Yeah, very much so. But again, it depends on what you start talking about. If you start talking about everything that's happening in the world, you will both be bringing yourselves down. So again, it's being aware of what the intention is. If you want us to remain positive, talk about things that are uplifting, that's going to be fantastic. You're taking in fresh air. When you're breathing in oxygen, your physiology is changing. Your physiology changes, your behaviour changes. So it should reinforce that positivity.
And exercise also plays a role in this, doesn't it?
Of course. Exercise, diet, eating well, it all does. It all impacts our own, the chemical balances within our body. So, yes, of course, exercise, diet, all contributes.
But that's difficult, isn't it? Because you say diet is important. I'm sure many people will say, absolutely, we know diet is important. But I also know from reading studies and things that our alcohol consumption in this country has risen during lockdown, which you can understand why that would be the case. But I'm guessing that's not going to help mood either, is it?
It isn't. And I'm a non-drinker myself, but I have plenty of friends who drink. But again, being a life coach, I wouldn't do what I did if I didn't advocate that people have a choice. And if people want to improve and want the best for their lives, it's their own choice what they want to do. And I'm not saying it's easy, it is difficult, but sometimes it's about creating the right environment to make the difficult decisions easier. You don't want to get into that decision fatigue when you're having to choose what should I do, what shouldn't I do, but try and create the environment for yourself that allows you to have a better life.
I'm interested to know, I have a theory on people and it's got, it's just based on experience. So I'm interested to know if you agree to this, that there's very much energy givers and energy takers in life. And there's certain people you'll spend time with and you may well enjoy their company, but at the end you think, gosh, I'm really exhausted. I need to sit down and have a rest. Yeah. And then there's other people you spend time with who you feel just invigorated after you spent time with them and you feel inspired and you feel energised.
Yes. I completely agree. The former are energy vampires, we call them. They just drain the energy out of you as if they're draining blood. But yeah, energy vampires, I completely agree. In my job, I try to be very cautious of the kind of people I do deal with and who I speak to. And it is, sometimes you do need to spend the time that are going to be motivating you, energizing you. As much as I like to help people that are, the energy vampires, sometimes they're not in a position to be helped or they're not in the right place or right time to be helped. But all you can do is be there to support them when you need them. But do it in a balanced approach. You can't be there all of the time. But understanding that's how certain people are will allow you to limit yourselves around them.
Should you maybe not spend time with them during lockdown? I appreciate we're not allowed to go to each other's houses. But say, for example, if it was someone you could meet up with for exercise and they are one of these, as you put it, energy vampires, do you think for our own mental health and well-being it would be better to maybe not spend time with them? Or is that just a selfish attitude because they may well need us?
I believe, it depends on yourself. It depends how strong you can be as a person as well. And if you think that it's okay to be with them sometimes because they need that support too. And in the end, it might not be a friend. It could be a family member. And you can't really distance yourself from a family member, somebody in the same home. So it is about, well, how can you help that person? So it's finding strategies, mechanisms that you can do so that they're not always negative. So, and I guess I do this with people where I try and guide them to take actions and start doing productive things. Because when people are productive and taking actions and they see rewards from their actions, they start becoming motivated, they start becoming confident. So it becomes a positive cycle rather than a negative one.
Is age a factor in this? I'm just thinking, some people listening to this with teenagers may say, oh, goodness gracious, teenagers are moody. Do we improve with age or get worse, or is it just really unfair to say that?
No, I think it's about, I've got a 17-year-old daughter, I could say that she would be the same, but no, I've seen the cycles with her as well. When she's creative, when she's taking action and she's productive, she's so much happier.
People as well listening to this may think if they have got young people in the home, it's a really difficult thing at the moment with restricting screen time and being on devices. And obviously for some young people, being on a device is a way to connect with their friends that they're not able to see at school, whether that's over gaming or just messaging each other or social media. But can devices create that bad mood if they're on for too long?
Again, yeah, I have a 12-year-old boy who I have challenges with in that sense that I have to monitor how much screen time he does have, but I'm conscious that actually he's not at school and he needs to be speaking with his friends, so we allow it either through games or just through chat systems, but I try to monitor it. So it is monitored. It's not a free-for-all, so the usage is monitored, but again, depending on what games are being played, it's that constant attention, some of the things that they can start talking about and get into, those negative things. Again, it's just monitoring that and making sure that actually it's being productive.
So if people are listening to this and feeling that at the moment it's difficult and maybe they're having a few more bad days than good days, what things can they proactively do? Get up tomorrow morning and do what to help themselves?
I think the best thing anybody could do is go out for a walk. The great British weather at the moment is not ideal. A bit wet, a bit windy, but, I did it yesterday. It was chucking it down in London, but, I decided I needed to go to the shops. I needed to go and get some food. Rather than take the car, I took a 7-minute walk, but it was pouring it down. I had my raincoat on. I came home, coat was soaking wet, but I was dry. But actually, that walk was just lovely to get out, breathe some fresh air. And it just changes your mood. As I said, when you're out, you're breathing, the intensity of your breathing is different, so therefore your physiology changes. And when your physiology changes, your behaviour and your actions change as well.
And if you're living on your own, and I know there are many people who are on their own during this time, and it's even more challenging for them, if they feel they're getting into a cycle, is there any different approach that people can have if they're on their own?
Yeah, when people get into these cycles and they're on their own, it is very difficult to manage because sometimes you're not aware you're in that cycle. So it does require a lot of self-awareness. And what I say then, sometimes it's not up to the individual. It's up to the people that are there to help support them, to be reaching out to people that they know that are on their own. And regularly, because sometimes they just don't know. When you're in that negative spiral, you're not feeling your best. It becomes a normalised behaviour, so you don't realise that you're not at your best and you just accept it as normal, and that could be quite dangerous. So for me, it's about those people that are stronger, knowing that there are people out there on their own. Reach out to them, give them your support, even if it's just a phone call. Sometimes that's all that's needed.
Yeah, phone call, Zoom call, anything to connect with people. And
exactly.
Thank goodness for technology during this pandemic. Can you imagine if we didn't have the ability to see people's faces? Listen, thank you so much for speaking to us today on Times Radio. Really grateful to you. That is the life coach.
Thank you, Chloe.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much. That is Dr. Rakish Rana, who is a life coach, a.k.a. the Clear Coach. You're listening to